Hey everyone, my name's Ray. I've been doing stand-up for about 12 years, and in that time people always ask you how you got into doing comedy. I got into comedy for the reason of my upbringing. I think my mum and dad are both deaf. I grew up learning sign language, I'm fluent in sign language, and all my life people have asked me the same question: what's it like growing up with deaf parents? And it's fine, it's cool, until you run out of toilet roll. Like, that's the best joke I'm going to tell, so if you didn't get it, you'll get it tomorrow, don't worry. And I've got to travel doing the show. So I did the world's first comedy show ever done in sign language and English. So I sign it all, I speak it all, never been done before in the world. Got to do Edinburgh Festival, UK tour, went to Australia, New Zealand. And that time we'd over 800 deaf people come to our first comedy show, which was something I was very proud of, until I found out deaf people pay concession prices, and it turned out I'd lost a lot of money. Genuinely, I'll never forget the last day of the Edinburgh Festival. There's a deaf guy sitting in the front row and I went, just to let you know, next year your ticket will be £75. And he looked me straight in the eyes and just went, and I was like, cool, that's sign language you can all understand. And I got to travel, which was a really cool thing. But something a lot of people don't realise is that sign language is different all over the world. Different countries have their own sign language. So in Britain we sign with 2 hands, in America they sign with 1 hand. Their alphabet's all done 1 hand, it's completely different. British sign language 2-handed, Irish sign language is 1-handed, which confuses the hell out of me because it's so close. I met an Irish deaf guy once, I was like, why is Irish sign language 1-handed? And straight away he went, so you can hold a pint in the other hand. And I was like, I don't think that's the reason, but I'm definitely stealing that, well done. And I was lucky enough, I said earlier, I went to Australia to do my sign language show. Australian sign language is 81% similar to British sign language, so there's obviously a 19% difference. I went over 3 days early to meet a group of Australian deaf people and they were going to teach me the difference in sign language. Some of them I could understand, so like in Scotland I would sign aunt and uncle. In Australia they do aunt and uncle, and that's the letter A, the letter U, so aunt, uncle makes sense. I would sign shit, 2 fingers down your right cheek like that. In Australia they do that, which is pretty confusing me because that's the British sign for research. So my first day in Australia I was like, what do you mean my show's research? I don't understand. But my favourite one was this. So in Scotland, this means sex. In Australia, this means Coca-Cola. And I have no idea why. And the best thing is, I don't know if you remember, I said I went a few days early to meet this group of Australian deaf people, but 5 minutes into the conversation, a deaf woman was like, oh sorry, I was really rude, I should have offered. Do you want some? And I was like, Australia's amazing, man. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Take care, bye.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Callum Jones and I'm super psyched to be here playing for you at this year's Big Burn Supper virtual online festival thing. Yeah, I'm going to play a few songs for you. Hope you're having a good night and enjoying the rest of the acts. And hopefully I'll be able to see you soon in person. This first song's called From Now On.
I got something I need to say. This'll only take a minute. I wrote this song the other day about how to take this life and live it. When I can't find my smile, my brother helps me laugh. His love's a gift that keeps on giving. Music stole my heart and kept the better half. What a way to make a living. But there's too many love songs about broken hearts. Too many people live to fall apart. So don't try to tell me who I can or can't be, 'cause I got my family to help me along. I'm gonna be me from now on. Racism and religion, lessons of hatred we were given. What makes it worse is we were children. Why can't we just get along? What kind of world is this we live in? Do you follow the news or do you have your own opinions? I didn't sign up for this system. Why can't we just get along? Too many people say don't waste your time. but I see you're trying and you're doing just fine. So don't try to tell me why I can or can't be, 'cause I got my family to help me along. So I'm gonna be me from now on. Yeah, I'm gonna be me from now on. Yeah, I'm gonna be me from now on. Yeah, I'm gonna be me from now on. So don't try to tell me who I can or can't be, 'cause I got my family to help me along. So don't try to tell me who I can or can't be. Yeah, I got my family to help me along. So I'm gonna be me from now on. Yeah, I'm gonna be me from now on. Cheers.
The first Burns dinner takes place 5 years after Burns's death in July 1801. 9 gentlemen meet in Alloway to celebrate Burns with haggis, sheep's head and many toasts. The following year in 1802 in Greenock, a bunch of Ayrshiremen get together to celebrate the first Burns supper on Burns' birthday, the 29th of January. They get the date wrong because Burns's first biographer, James Curry, had told them it was the 29th rather than the 25th. It's 1803 where we have the first Burns supper on the 25th of January, again in Greenock. And then we see the Burns supper fan out through Scotland, through the UK. In 1806 we have Scottish students at the University of Oxford. 1809 a London Burns supper, and in 1812 the first Burns supper in Glasgow. First American Burns supper 1817 in Philadelphia, the first Australian Burns supper in 1843, the first Burns supper in Africa 1859. 1859 is a big date.
Hello Big Burns Supper, how are you doing? All 4 of us in Tidelines are delighted to be part of this virtual celebration of Scotland's national bard. Robert Burns was always a massive influence in my life and my music when I was younger, growing up here in the West Highlands, and those bookshelves behind me were always full of books of his poetry and his songs. So I'm back home in the Highlands due to lockdown, and therefore we all thought it was appropriate that we would give you one particular Burns song today that starts, "Of all the airts the wind can blow, I dearly like the West." I hope you enjoy this.
Hello there, I'm Donovan, and I'm speaking in my Scots accent because I'm so privileged to be invited to join you all online at the Big Burns Supper. Today here in Ireland the sun is shining, but later on you will join me in the house and I will sing a song by the blazing fire. Follow me a little bit. In my hand I'm holding my dad, Donald's, favourite copy of Robert Burns' collection. It's a working man's collection, nothing fancy or leather bound for my father, but he read me poems, many of these as a boy, and it taught me how to write songs in many ways. Now the New Year's Eve is past, but now everybody realizes more and more that Robert Burns wrote Auld Lang Syne, the most popular song in the world. We Scots are quite a breed of songwriters.
Hiya! I hope you're all having a cracking Big Burn supper and enjoying yourselves. I heard my first ever Robert Burns joke the other day from my old friend Andrew, who's very old. I'm not sure young people know Robert Burns jokes. And he said that there was a typo in A Fond Kiss, and it's actually A Fond Kiss and Then We Slaver. I'd never heard that before. You might all know that joke. I think it's great. Never heard it.
Hello, and I'd like to welcome you all to the old schoolhouse here in the village of Butterstone in Perthshire. And it's great to be part of the Big Burn Supper, celebrating our national poet. And I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. These are pretty troubled times at the moment, and but it seems to me that it doesn't matter how tough things get. As long as you've got lots of good friends around who care for you, you can pretty well handle most things.
Just taking the little doggy out for the walk. Want to just say happy Big Burn Supper in Dumfries. Really sad we can't be there. Have had such memorable times at the gigs and meeting people afterwards. So just want to sing one of my favourite songs for you. Sending much love, and keep well and safe, and haste me back to you. Take care.
Happy Burns Night, everybody. Hope you're having a cracker and enjoying the Big Burn Supper. It's a real privilege to join you this evening, albeit virtually, but hopefully it won't be too long before we get a wee dram together and a wee bounce about too. So for myself, Gary, and it's from Manran, enjoy, slange, and all the very best.
Hi, Dan and Alec from Skerryvore here. A real honour to be part of the Big Burn Supper.
In one sense, the Burn Supper is a perfect storm of Scottish masculinity. We've got Freemasons, we've got businessmen, we've got expatriate Scots, we've got the military who stage a Burn Supper in India in 1810. The thing develops gradually, slowly, a bit like a wave, a bit like a football song. No one quite knows who wrote the words, no one quite knows who's in charge, but people copy one another at Burn Suppers. And 1859 is a crucial year because in that year, properly for the first time, we have multiple suppers where people address the haggis, are formal with the haggis. In that year also, for the first time, the centenary of Robert Burns' birth, we have Auld Lang Syne as the end part of proceedings. And the Burn Supper develops even further as the 19th century wears on.
There's lots of people sending messages in. There's your Jeanette in for Cambuslang. She says somebody's turned the light off and you need to put 50p in the meter because she's really good at timing. The boy put 50p in the meter. We've got the light back on. Right now, 4 can champ it up, get it down the hatch, and they're called LOKA, and they are going to entertain you tonight. LOKA! I can do a link at the end because that was fucking good. Some hay meat and can't eat, and some... Nah, I can't fucking remember it, my brain just... Some hay meat and can't eat, and some would eat, but want it. Some hay meat and can't eat, and some can eat, nah, and some would eat that want it. Some hay meat and can't eat, and some would eat that want it. Nah, I did get it right, some would eat that want it. Some hay meat and can't eat, and some hay meat that want it. Nah, shh, shh, shh. Some hay meat and can't eat, and some would eat that want not, and some would eat that want it. Right? Some hay meat and can't eat, and some would meat not, and would meat, and some would eat, okay. Some hay meat and can't eat, and some would meat not. I keep saying meat instead of eating that second line. Right, back to my wee messages on my phone. Folk are sending in. Keep on texting. Keep on joining in with the Facebook and the YouTube. Send your messages in. Let me have a look. No, I don't have any messages. I'm needing a wee sit down. What a night it's been. Oh. Don't even know what that is. brought some special drinks in for some special people that might turn up tonight. You never know what guest you'll have. There might be like James Bond might turn up, and I'm ready. James, I'm ready for you. I'm Miss Moneypenny, or as I like to call it, Miss 2 and 6. I don't know if I can carry this very far. I'm slightly shaken and stirred. I need to go because I've got a bladder like a scatter cushion and I'm a woman of a certain age. I need to go, son. Hold that camera. Hi there, Janey Godley here. I hope you're enjoying the Burns night. I'm pure knackered. Here's a poem for you. I'm pure knackered and I need a pee. Hi there, Janey Godley here. Hang on, I'm just going to poke the fire. It's me, I've poked the fire. Don't talk about it anymore.
Tells buckets and time is near my jaw. A nice and fair, the furrowed field returns he dark and weary. Down by the barn where barking birds we dew hang and clear my jaw. I'll meet thee on the lead egg, my kind dearie. At midnight in Marcus Glen, I'd rove an early. If through that glen I'd got to thee, my kind dearie. Although the night will ne'er say wild, and I will ne'er say I'll meet thee on the lead egg, my kind dearie. The hunter lows the morning sun to rouse a mountain deer, my jaw. At noon the fisher takes a glen, abound and bound to steal my jaw. Give me the earth, oh gloam and grey, that makes my heart say cheery, oh, to meet thee on the lead egg, my kind dearie, oh. I'll meet thee on the lead egg, my kind dearie, oh.
thank you guys so much for sitting and listening to me. My name's Callum Jones, and that was The Lyric by Robert Burns, my favourite one of his. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your night. See you soon.
The spicy peasant dish, both Robert Burns and the haggis that becomes a part of his supper, really from 1859. Burns's address to a haggis, written in 1787, was a joke that became serious. Although at the same time, Robert Burns did have a point in that, apart from comedy, which was you don't need fast food, what you need is good basic foods to grow strong and manly. So both joke and seriousness going on in Address to a Haggis, and of course the other element, whisky, which Robert Burns more or less invents as Scotland's national drink through writing things like Whisky and Freedom Gang Together. This is one of many places where Burns's fiction becomes reality.
Right now, fork in, champ it up, get it down the hatch. Right, honey, go. Ow, 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 ow! Oh, oh, Right, Katie, watch this one. There you go.
Oh, so good.
Big, did it in harmony. Oh my God.
So cute. Well done, Minnie. Oh God, it's like the gym.
Honey and Minnie actually harmonised there.
They did. We could do a Honey and Minnie album. It'd be like the Andrews sisters.
But with 8 legs.
How many legs did the Andrews sisters have? 6?
Yeah, they just did 6. We've outdone them.
Done them.
Part of the function of the Burns supper through the 19th century was to make the bard more respectable. One of the most controversial elements of his reputation, of course, involved women. He had made at least 5 women pregnant on at least 13 occasions. As we get to 1870, we find the Burns supper toasting Burns's wife, Jean Armour, commemorating her as well as the poet. And then what we find in the second half of the 19th century also is the very respectable toasting of the lassies, of women that Burns had known, had written love songs about. In the early years of the Burns supper, it was a case of toasting the women who had served the dinner but hadn't taken part in the supper. By 1859, the centenary year, women are beginning to take part in some Burns suppers. And in the latter part of the 19th century, we get the development of the toast to the lassies. It's not till about 1920, however, that we get the reply from the lassies. So what we've got to realise is that the elements of the Burns supper take quite a long time to come together and congeal. And the very familiar Burns supper as we know it today takes at least 118 years to come together with all of these different elements: haggis, women, whisky, recitals, etc.
Here's a wee poem I made up myself. Here's a reply to the laddies, for you know men are nae all baddies. There's many things that women can do that men canny, like gie birth while wearing false eyelashes and your man's crying like a fanny. My mammy could use a sandal as a weapon and control the hoose as she made soup. My daddy couldn't figure out how to jump through that hoop. He tried and he failed, but men are great too. Daddies and grandas, we all had a few who knew the score, who came to the fore when women needed the honours. Now imagine if Burns was alive in these corners, if Burns were here in COVID times, if Burns was still in our life. He'd be giving us all of his rhymes and running away for a wife. He'd hate to be woke. That gave him the boke. He'd be in the street wearing a mask. He'd be on Twitter taking twits to task. He'd call Big Boris a bam. He'd be using words like beau and fam. He'd have a TikTok dance that went viral. He'd get cancelled for using the biro, for writing down words that upset the birds, but he wouldn't care. He'd double down and call them fuds. He'd fight with trolls and call them beasties. He'd have to keep explaining the word breasties. He'd be on telly on a comedy panel, hitting them with all his flannel. He'd have a huge following on his YouTube channel. Influencers would scald his heels, and his poems would give us all the feels. Facebook would ban him every day as he tried to get out what he wanted to say. The internet would be upended. Oh, everybody would be offended. They'd scream at his words as he tickled the birds and laughed as he shouted, "No hell mended." Burns would have his own website with a chat room for lassies alone. And the snowflakes would shout and scream, no doubt, like a pompous wee dog with a bone. But he'd laugh in their face and he'd say, "I'm not for this place. I'm for a time when a rose was a rose. You hate me now and you call me a sow, but you'll need me when you want to propose." And he's right. Burns had foresight. Men and women have changed since his day, and I'm sure we can see that now. But to be winched by a man, rough in the fields, writing poems over a plough. So let's all raise our glasses to the lads and the lassies who made Burns's heart beat so loud. To the lads, to the lassies. I'm very equal opportunity. Now before we get to the big song, we are going to go over to the birthplace of Burns and see Skerryvore tell us all about that special song.
Okay gentlemen, welcome to one of our storage facilities here at the Robert Burns Birthplace Museum. This is our upper store. As you can see, there's quite a strong element of security here because it contains a lot of the hugely important documentary and manuscript elements of our collection. Every country has its treasures, and Scotland has its own crown jewels, those ones discovered by Sir Walter Scott and displayed in Edinburgh and things like that. But to me, these are the real national treasures because these sing to us from the very heart of Scotland's poetic soul, and that makes them valuable and invaluable, really. So there's two things I wish to show you. And the first is of interest to you guys as both musicians and as people who are going to celebrate New Year. And if you think about it, as the Earth rotates on its axis, come the stroke of midnight in each of the time zones, as the world clicks round the time zones and the New Year is ushered in those time zones around the world, people usher it in the Scots language if they happen to sing Auld Lang Syne properly. That's quite an amazing thing. Our language from our wee bit of the world here in Scotland is used to welcome, to open up the gates of the new year. That's quite an incredible thing, gents, if you think about it. See, if you're singing it and holding hands with the people that you love, that's the most important thing, the people that you care about, and being with them and using this wonderful song to usher in the new year. And here we have it, a fragment written by Burns himself. Now I'm going to step back and you guys can come slightly closer. And as I said to you before, it is just a fragment. It doesn't even begin with "Should Old Acquaintance." This particular fragment begins with "And surely you'll be your pint stoop." Now what I think has happened here is, in a time before easy printing or being able to rattle things through your printer, if somebody wanted a copy of this, Burns would have quickly dashed it off, folded it up. You can see it's been folded along several axes, made into letter form and sent to someone, so that when they open it up, the letter itself forms a poem and they would have a copy of it in order that they could sing. Well, feel free to gaze upon its beauty.
But it's incredible to think that he sat down and wrote that, and
that's the thing, that's Burns' hand, and we're still singing it.
Yeah.
Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? That's all I know of that big song, but I know you'll take that kind. For old son, I don't know if I can do that an awful long time. I've hurt my tatas.